of steering this ship from now up until the end of the program. Without waste of time, in terms of our programs, the program says we must do a welcome and purpose, but I think for the purposes of this, I will swap it around and let us start with the singing of the national anthem before we do the purpose and welcome. Are you ready? Or we can sing it ourselves. we just waiting for them to be ready. They were not ready for my change. Okay. Can we all stand for the singing of the national anthem? Chaba Saisu, Ufedise Dintwali Matsene, Usibuluke, Usibuluke, Sechabasa, Yesu, Sechabasa, South Africa, South Africa, Empty Blue. Sounds the call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, after our prayer of the nation, we can start the program. At this point in time, I'm going to call upon the Director General of Home Affairs, Mr. Tomi Makode, to come and welcome everyone and indicate the purpose for the day. You can clap hands for him all.
Good morning, Mr. Kaiser Khanyago, the Program Director, Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Njabulo Nzuza, the Chairperson of why we're here, the Border Management and Immigration and Anti-Corruption Forum, and also Head of the SIU, Advocate Andy Mutibi, the Border Management Authority, represented by the Acting Commissioner, Major General Retired David Shilembe, the DDGs from the Department of Home Affairs that are here, the various assistant commissioners from the Border Management Authority, Eliaso, former DG in the presidency, Dr. Cassius Lubisi, who also led the ministerial committee on the issuance of visas, which eventually led to the Proclamation 154 of 2024, amongst others, which is why we are here. The National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, thank you for coming. Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, National Head, Lieutenant General, General Libya, Joint Interim Leader of Corruption Watch, Moira Campbell earlier on. And then, of course, colleagues from the State Security Agency. We're told we have an apology from Ambassador Nozuko Bam, but she is represented here. To all other civil society representatives, including OUTA and Accountability Lab South Africa. So let me take this opportunity, Minister and DM, to extend our appreciation as the Department of Home Affairs and the BMA to all stakeholders that have honored this appointment to take time out to come to the launch of the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum. This morning, Minister, DM, stakeholders, we are here to witness the launch of the Border Management and Anti-Corruption Forum. This is a collective effort by various stakeholders which will add impetus to the work both currently being done by the SIU, or the Special Investigating Unit, and the DPCI. In this space, as we take, Minister, a zero-tolerance approach towards fraud and corruption. And I suppose as the Department of Home Affairs, we are further empowered by that Proclamation 154 of 2024, which was signed by the President, to ensure that we do work with the SIU. And we're making strides, Minister and DM, in the fight against fraud and corruption in the permitting section of the department in particular. So this is the fourth forum that is being launched. And as stakeholders will recall, there's one in the health sector, there's one in the built environment or infrastructure, and then, of course, local government. So the Home Affairs one is the fourth to be launched. I saw my colleague from SSA, welcome as well. And I suppose, Minister, this anti-corruption forum will enable us to foster collaboration amongst various stakeholders that are active in this space, in particular border management and immigration environment, including society as a whole, as we fight this scourge of corruption. So you are all welcomed to this event, and we appreciate the time that you have taken to come and listen to us. Thank you so much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, DG, and my former colleague at the SABC. Without wasting more time, we want to move because to the next part of our program. We can only do this when we are having support from all the entities within government. And if we work together as a nation, like we have done before, we can show that we are one, and that is witnessed by the kind of people that I'm going to call here, who are going to be giving messages of support in as far as this program is concerned. The first person that I'm going to call upon is the National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Shamila Batoy, to come and really give a, I know it is written message of support, but the NPA is part of these forums anyway. It's not, you are supporting us and yourself in it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Minister, Deputy Minister, and in the interest of time, may I just say my fellow partners in crime management And ladies and gentlemen, it really gives me great pleasure to be here today to just give a short 5-minute message of support. This official launch of the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum is another demonstration of our collective efforts to build a secure and prosperous South Africa. Corruption, as we all know, is an attack on the rule of law. It undermines the very foundation of our governance structures and our commitment to fairness and integrity. In the critical areas of border management and immigration, it poses, as we all know, significant challenges. It compromises security, economic stability, and the safety of our citizens. This is particularly so considering that, according to UNODC, South Africa has become an important transit route for organized crime networks involved in human trafficking, drugs, and small arms smuggling, and various other forms of cross-border crime. So our ability to control and monitor our borders is a key pillar of state security and sovereignty. And when these systems are vulnerable to corruption, the consequences are dire. This forum is a powerful step in fostering collaboration between the various stakeholders, including law enforcement, civil society, members of the public. This is in line with our national anti-corruption strategy, which calls on a whole of society and integrated approach to the fight against corruption. It is through unity and shared responsibility that we will work to strengthen our fight against corruption. We must work to strengthen transparency, we must improve accountability, and we must ensure that we foster a culture of integrity in our own public institutions. We need public servants, law enforcement, and government agencies that serve the public with the highest standards of professionalism and ethics. South Africans are right to be outraged by the prevalence of corruption in our country, the effect it has on our economy, our development prospects, and our collective future. We know, however, that nothing will move the needle in our country until high-profile corruption matters are dealt with effectively. Over the past 5 years, we have been doing a lot and made significant progress in trying to do this. We've enrolled thousands of cases that are in progress in our courts involving private and public entities and individuals. We've recovered billions of rand through our ambitious asset recovery strategy and made important progress with the FATF recommendations. So we must not be too critical about our own progress, considering that these challenges are global. That said, I am acutely aware that the lens through which many South Africans measure success in addressing corruption is seeing politicians involved in state capture in orange overalls. A lot of work is happening in that space, but I don't have time to speak about it. The results will come. However, as we have said before, South Africans are wrong if they think that the solution to corruptions lies solely with prosecutions and orange overalls. It's important. This realization has dawned across prosecuting authorities around the world. On their own, the reality is that prosecutions are not a cure for widespread or systemic corruption. Independent prosecution services will play their role in their fight against corruption only as partners in wider strategies that build strong cultures of integrity, resistant to corruption in each government institution and office. I have often said the root cause of corruption in this country is the lack of ethical leadership and good governance. More importantly, at a time when the rule of law is being undermined worldwide, that at a time when there is a tsunami against the rule of law, we here cannot be divided in our fight against corruption. We must unite to defend and deliver on our commitment to deliver on the rule of law. We must never forget that divisions only serve the criminals' interests. We must unite in ensuring that we address design flaws in our fight against corruption that actually impair our ability to deal with corruption across the criminal justice system. To my colleagues here, I want to say we stand ready to work with you in government, in law enforcement, and with civil society to ensure that those who exploit our immigration and border systems for personal gain are held accountable. We must deal holistically with this challenge. We look forward to the ongoing success of this particular forum, and we hold hands with you to ensure that someday this country will be free of corruption. I thank you.
Definitely, NPA, National Director, because the issue of unity is the reason why we are here. We must all be united, make sure that we fight the scourge of corruption together, and that will make this country a better place, not if it is not for us, but for our children. Next in line is the national head of the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, known as the Hawks. And welcome, Lieutenant General, Advocate, Doctor. They didn't write all of this here. Godfrey Libya.
Thank you very much, Program Director, Mr. Kanyaho, the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Schreiber, MP, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Nzuza, MP, the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Makote, the Head of the Special Investigating Unit, Advocate Mutibi, the National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Batoy, the Acting Commissioner of Border Management Authority, Major General Retired Chilembe, the representative from the State Security Agency, the Chief Executive Officer of Business Against Crime, Dr. Wright, the Joint Interim Leader of Corruption Watch, Madam Campbell, the former DG in the Presidency, Dr. Lubisi, all senior government representatives present here, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. It is a privilege afforded to me, which I appreciate, standing here before you. As the national head of the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, the DPCI, and the chairperson of the National Priority Crime Operational Committee, I feel honored to be part of this historic and innovative event of launching this corruption fighting vehicle in the border management environment. Various operational challenges have been experienced, and South Africa has been criticized that its law enforcement coordination and collaboration efforts are insufficient, as it does not result in enough criminal prosecutions. The international criticism, including Corruption Perception Index, recommendation from recent judicial commissions, and the direction from South Africa's National Anti-Corruption Strategy 2020 to 2030 necessitate a review of law enforcement collaboration. The National Anti-Corruption Strategy was developed to create South Africa that is free of corruption. South Africa that is based on values of integrity, transparency and accountability, respect for law and zero tolerance approach in keeping with the objective of the NDP 2030. The need to empower citizens in the fight against corruption through awareness campaigns, collaboration efforts cannot be overemphasized. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, mandates compliance with international law and requires the country to comply with its international obligations. South Africa has ratified several international conventions and treaties and participates in forums that require the country to implement measures to prevent and combat corrupt activities. Some of these include the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, which promotes the prevention and criminalization of corruption. The UNCAC, which is the abbreviation of that entity, also highlights the need for international cooperation in the fight against corruption and the return of assets associated with corrupt activities. The Organization of Economic and Cooperation and Development Convention, which is abbreviated as OECD, on combating bribery and foreign public official in international business transaction, the African Union's Convention on Prevention and Combating Corruption, the SADC Protocol Against Corruption, the Financial Action Task Force, and the Group 20 of Anti-Corruption Working Group. So securing the borderlines is important. It helps to reduce the undesired influx into this our beautiful country. In our second quarter of this financial year, the total arrests effected by the DPCI included 59% of foreign nationals, whereas 41% is the South Africans. In the third quarter of this financial year, 68% of arrested individuals are foreign nationals. It is worrisome. Minister, the South African Police Service Act 68 of 1995 was amended in 2008 and again in 2012 to beget the DPCI. Amongst the provisions that were brought about by these amendments are the following. Section 17F, capital letter F, that speaks to multidisciplinary approach. This is one of those that are needed, that speaks to multidisciplinary approach. Section 17, capital letter I, Ministerial Committee. I call it the Committee of five ministers that are to assist in processes such as this to ensure that we are doing what is expected of us. The last section that I need to highlight is section 17, capital letter J. That is the operational committee. It is the committee where the directors general of various departments participate, including that of Department of Home Affairs. In all these sections, the Department of Home Affairs is included. In the national, this body that I normally summarize as the NPCOC, National Priority Crime Operational Committee, the SIU is included. And it is in that forum that it updates the participants on the activities of these types of forum. So it also requires that we constantly participate in all of those forums from all law enforcement agencies. In conclusion, it is important to note that every problem has a solution. It depends on whether we want to solve it or not. It depends on us as to whether we want to stand against this evil act or disapprove it. People usually stay silent in some of these situations, but one must remember that mere silence leads to acceptance. So we must unite together and try to reduce corruption. In supporting this initiative, the whole of society approach, all government, non-government, public and private institutions should unite and stand together against corruption. Program Director, let me conclude by saying, the Minister, as for me and the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, we shall continue to support this forum. I thank you.
Definitely, we appreciate the support that you have pledged and the scary figures that you are giving us to say these percentages of foreigners who are being arrested in this country is so scary. Therefore, it means something has to be done. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Libya. The next message will be coming from the Acting Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Major General, retired Chilembe.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Before I start, I thought that maybe let me reiterate the statement that you have made, that we have been given an opportunity to come and give support. I think the BMA is the one that needs to be supported. So, yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Minister, Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Jabulo Zuza, the Director General, Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makode, Advocate Motibi from the SIU, Advocate Shamile Patoi, I see she has left, but she was here, and Ambassador Nozuko Bam, in her absence, I know that General Manager Louis Dreyer is standing for her, Lieutenant General Godfrey Lebia, Dr. Cassius Lubisi, former Director General in the Presidency, Dr. Graham Wright, Chief Executive Officer, Business Against Crime, Ms. Moira Campbell, Joint Interim Leader, Corruption Watch, and also my Deputy Commissioner of Corporate Services, Ma'am Jane Tupana, executive members of the BMA and the Department of Home Affairs and the other stakeholders that are here today, civil society organizations, esteemed colleagues, members of the media, good morning. It is both an honor and privilege to stand before you today as we officially launch the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum. This initiative represents a critical milestone in our ongoing efforts to combat corruption and uphold ethical governance within the border management and immigration sectors. The establishment of this forum comes at a time when the BMA, as a Border Management Authority, is intensifying and coordinating its efforts to fight corruption within the ports of entry and along the law enforcement area in the borderline. One of our main focus areas as part of the BMA is to deal with the issues of corruption. And we are saying corruption is a national priority crime that undermines our security, economic stability, and public trust. This forum we are launching today is not merely a symbolic gesture. It is an actionable commitment. It is a shared responsibility that requires collaboration, transparency, and resolve. It was of no mistake that the BMA adopted the values of vigilance, integrity, patriotism, professionalism, innovation, and excellence. We strive and live by these values, and we want to see a corrupt-free South Africa. Border management and immigration must be a priority in order to deal with most of the issues that are facing this country, and it requires immediate intervention. The BMA, in its 2 years of existence, has already made significant strides in addressing some of the challenges we face. I am not going to mention the numbers in terms of members or people that we have intercepted. I think the minister has got those numbers in his speech. But to date, we have intercepted a number of travelers that wants to come into this country trying to enter South Africa illegally. When we're looking inwardly, we have also dismissed some members from ourselves that are involved in corruption. And as we speak, we have about 45 active cases that is in our records. That will be concluded very soon, where we are dealing inwardly with our own that are part of this sketch. Over and above our roles and responsibilities within the BMA, we have safeguards, Minister. The BMA has got two main sections that helps us in this. One of it is Section 13 that directs and mandates that all officials that are employed under the BMA must undergo vetting, and there should be lifestyle audits on those members. It's a mandatory issue that is in the Act that we have to go through it. Further, there's a Section 17 also in the BMA Act. It is important for me to mention these two sections because the Section 17 limits rights to ourselves, where it says some of us will be subjected to spot checks or spot searches during the operations that we do. You don't find this in many acts where our members can be inspected on duty, and we can even screen their communications while they are on duty. That's what the Act says, and that's what we strive to do as border management. One of our key achievements has been the launch of DPCI hotline. This is a dedicated reporting platform for suspicious activities at ports of entry and along the borderline. This initiative has proven effective, providing us with valuable intelligence that has led to critical interventions. The public can report corruption and illegal activities through our 24/7 operation hotline of DPCI, which is 0801 229 019, or via our online platform, the www.bma.gov.za. We are saying all reports will be treated with utmost confidentiality, ensuring the safety of whistleblowers and enhancing the effectiveness of our response mechanism. Operation DPCI is a testament to the power of partnership between the BMA and the public. When we work together, we strengthen the integrity of our work and ensure that only lawful activities take place within our jurisdiction. As we are launching the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum today, I urge all stakeholders and the general public at large to actively participate in spreading our message to curb corruption. If you see something, say something. Thank you.
Definitely, I think you are the ones that need support, like you have indicated. You need more support. From your statement, it's very clear that we need to support you. If you're already dealing with, in the 2 years, you're already dismissing people for corruption in your own area, it says a lot. At this point, we're moving on, as indicated earlier, Ambassador Nozuko Bam is not here, and she is represented by the GM Border Intelligence, Luis Dreyer, who can come over to give a message of support from State Security Agency. You can clap for hands.
Good morning to all the participants. It's lovely to scan the room and to see so many familiar faces with whom we as the SSA are already collaborating. So Minister, I would like to give you that assurance that discreetly we are also supporting. Minister Schreiber, Deputy Minister, Generals, General Chilembe, all protocol observed. I'm representing Ambassador Nozuko Bam, who unfortunately is detained. She would have loved to be here. She asked me to convey her apologies for not being here and accept me for standing in for her on this occasion. I think from the SSA side, we would declare our support for all the role players here. As I said, we collaborate on various forums, discreetly and openly, with a lot of role players already sitting here. If we look at the topic of today, I think it's important for us as SSA to communicate that we participate specifically to counter insider risks. Insider risks, as I said, is quite a severe challenge from inside our various organizations. It discredits very good legislation and regulations that we as a country have in place to secure our borders and to actually export and push back the risk as far as possible from this country. This is a very important structure and forum, specifically for us all as law enforcement, to share information with those who have to then effect the changes and make sure that we counter the risks that are inside. From an SSA point of view, I think it's prudent to share with you our role as well. We support other structures in terms of securing borders at land, aviation and maritime, but also to look at the integrity of our documents, identity management, but to also make sure that we procure systems that work, that are expeditious, that facilitate trade, and that security do not actually hold back trade and movement of people and goods, but that it actually doesn't compromise security while you still expedite trade. And as we have heard, we have to achieve a 3% economic growth in this country. And we as the SSA, through our counterintelligence mandate, through identifying risks that hamper these objectives of this country, we play a supportive role with all the various structures that are represented here. I think it's also important to state, in terms of our support for this structure, that intelligence-driven operations and information sharing remain important to share with those structures that have the mandate to counter these risks and to do law enforcement. And for that, we are most proud in terms of sharing our knowledge and our people and the support where we can. We also want to echo the words of Ms. Batoy, who said that we have to identify the challenges in our systems. That is another big problem for us in the country, that we have good systems, good people running and manning those systems, but you also have vulnerabilities that are being exploited. And for that, we then step in with our counterintelligence mandate to support those structures that design the legislation and the regulations so that we can close the loopholes that are being exploited by nefarious elements, both in the country, but also externally. As Rino Libya said, we can make arrests, but you have to also root out the systemic challenges in the systems that contribute to the risks. With those few short words, I think I'm the shortest speaker here today. I would like to pledge the support of the SSA in the good work that all these departments are doing. We do discreetly and respectfully. We also want to achieve stability in this country. We want to secure the national security of our country by mitigating and countering risks that actually threatens territorial integrity and sovereignty of this good country. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
Well said. We appreciate the support that we are giving to us, and we will reciprocate to you too. We have, throughout all the other speeches, you've been hearing this thing of the whole of society approach coming again and again. And what that means is we want everyone to be part of this forum so that they are able to work together. And because of that, that is why we are having the next two speakers here, who are, the first one is Dr. Graham Wright, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Business Against Crime. Business' role in this whole thing has to be acknowledged, and we are saying, can you come and give more than support? Maybe we need even a little bit of money there.
Thank you, Program Director, Minister, Deputy Minister, esteemed guests, all protocol observed. It's indeed an honor to stand before you today representing the business community in this launch. The initiative is not only timely, but very crucial in the fight against crime and corruption, which continue to erode the fabric of society and the economy. As a nation, we're acutely aware of the devastating impact that corruption has had on our institutions in the past, but also currently going forward as well, which erode the economic stability of the country and limits our growth and development as a nation. So nowhere is it more evident the impact of corruption than in the border control arena, which is limiting or managing the flow of goods and people across the borders. We cannot overemphasize the crucial role that the integrity of border management plays in the growth and sustainability of the South African economy. And so, as a business community and a key stakeholder in trade and investment, we recognize that the secure and well-managed and corrupt-free border management system is critical for not only for the economy but also for the job creation as well. So we commend the Department of Home Affairs, Border Management Authority, and also the SIU in launching this particular initiative. We've been part of the SIU anti-corruption forums, which we appreciate. So I think business has got a very particular role to play in those forums. And the last meeting we had, I think last week, it was very evident that the deep depth of considerations that have been given by the officials in the different departments to the message given to anti-corruption efforts. So we're very supportive, and we believe that this signals an important departure from the past to root out corruption. Business, we should not underestimate the role of border management in the growth and development of the economy. So business stands ready to support this initiative as well as the other initiatives of the Department of Home Affairs through technology innovations, resource deployment in areas of need. And I'm sure the Minister will cover some of those areas later on. But as business, we have a rich diversity of technology innovations that is ready to be deployed to help support government in fighting crime and corruption. So we're ready to bring those resources to bear in a managed way so that we can support government's activities. Of course, business is also an important part of the corruption process, so whistleblowing and alerting government to instances where corruption does occur within Home Affairs and Border Management Authority is an important component of that. So we need to encourage business in dealing with Home Affairs and Border Management processes to raise the whistle and to raise the flag where corruption does occur so that we can jointly tackle the scourge. It's a very important component of dealing with corruption. In conclusion, Business Against Crime and our partners in business support fully this intervention and look forward to deepening our involvement and support so that we can eradicate the scourge. Thanks very much.
Definitely, you can see the support is already there. There's technology that is available. Can we use the technology to make sure that we achieve what we are supposed to achieve as a country? The next part of the people that are part of the civil society that is here is a representative is a joint interim leader of Corruption Watch, which is part of civil society, wherein we have got Ms. Moira Campbell to come and just pledge the support from that side of Corruption Watch. They have always been with us in all the other forums that we have launched before.
Greetings, Program Director, Minister, Deputy Minister, DGs, my esteemed colleagues in law enforcement, partners in civil society, business, and of course members of the media and all other protocols observed. Corruption Watch welcomes the addition of this particular forum, the Border and Immigration sorry, I always get it confused, Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum, with its critical focus on the border and port management and immigration environment. This forum, we believe, has a Herculean task of addressing head-on the specific challenges that occur at borders and ports, key points of entry into and exit out of the country. I think we all know the propensity for corruption at our borders and ports can involve a wide range of different actors, from customs officials, border guards, port operators, private sector players with different levels of discretionary powers and opportunities to extract bribes. Collusion also can happen in so many different ways, from avoiding tariffs and taxes, coercive bribery for people to perform the most perfunctory of tasks, and of course issuing of illegal documents, identity, travel or passport documents, just to name a few. Our approach at Corruption Watch of participation in multi-sectoral, multidisciplinary fora and partnerships have always been a very key component of advancing our work in holding public and private sector leaders to account for corruption and mismanagement, and also in urging an intensification of anti-corruption efforts across the board. We have been, I think, one of the civil society, what one could call early adopters of participation in this innovative, streamlined and effective model, the brainchild of the SIU. The advantage of having all key stakeholders in the room to collectively address corruption issues and to find solutions is a model that has wide applicability across many sectors. Indeed, as many of my colleagues have said before, we were part of the launch and co-chair of the Health Anti-Corruption Forum, which was the first one launched in 2018. Then subsequently the Infrastructure Built Anti-Corruption Forum in 2021 and the Local Government Anti-Corruption Forum in 2022. And I believe we can look forward to a water anti-corruption forum, which is very exciting news as well. The objective of these fora is to foster relationships of collaboration, consultation, mutual support, and cooperation between the parties, and to seek more effective ways of addressing corruption in critical sectors. As Corruption Watch, we have benefited from being at the forefront of proposed interventions to respond to whistleblower complaints with relevant investigative bodies present in the room. We saw this in particular following the high-profile cases of corruption in the health sector during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure I don't have to remind anybody about those cases. As an organization, our general approach to combating corruption is to encourage the public to report their experiences of corruption to us. while we've acted on these reports in a variety of different ways, the result is most effective when we meet officials and government departments or entities genuinely committed to working with us to resolve the individual reported cases and the systemic factors that underpin them. An earlier project of ours in 2016 called Project Lapisa directed this energy specifically to refugee communities and asylum seekers and to government agencies with which they were obliged to engage. This included the Department of Home Affairs. Unfortunately, at that time, we were not met with the current spirit of collaboration that we are very fortunate to see at this launch and to find in this room. This is an extremely important initiative that deserves the support and intervention of all players committed to ending the corruption that erodes our systems and processes and impacts the lives of people who are often the most desperate and vulnerable, who are often at the receiving end. It is within all our interests, we believe, to address the corruption that is rife at our borders. It is, as we've heard from everybody, it is up to all of us, the whole of society, to curb the opportunities for corruption and to hold all those involved accountable. This forum will help us to create awareness about the problem and its challenges and to create a sense of urgency for us to institute systems that are streamlined and designed to protect and support all parties in the front line at these borders. And finally, it will allow us to effectively manage the movements of goods and people in a way that respects the rights and dignity of all. Corruption Watch pledges its support to this and all other fora that are due to come. I thank you all.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your being with us in all the other forums and the pledge that you've made on this particular one. We as government and law enforcement agencies need to be monitored too. Therefore, when civil society does that, it is of assistance to everyone. We have now come out of the messages of support, and now we are getting into the gist of what we are here about, and we are almost there. Don't worry. The first person that is going to be called upon is the chairperson of the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum, who is also the head of the Special Investigating Unit, and by the way, is also the co-chair of the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Committee, and he is also the vice president of the International Association of Anti-Corruption Agencies, none other than Advocate Andy Mutibi, to come and give us a background.
Thank you. Thank you, Program Director, Dade Khanya. Thank you for those kind words of introduction. I would like to, I would have really preferred to stand on the protocol that has been established, but as the chair of the forum, I will specifically acknowledge the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, and also acknowledge the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Njabulo Nzoza. All my colleagues in the forum, let me also acknowledge the DG of Home Affairs, whom we've worked so well together so that we reach this stage. Mr. Tommy Makode, thank you, DG. General Libya, thank you, General, for steering the ship in that National Priority Crimes Committee, where we always report to my colleague, National Director of Public Prosecutions, who has another commitment, but we really appreciate that she came. The civil society representatives that are here, all, on the next occasion, time permitting, we'll probably have all of you on the agenda. But really, we couldn't have you all. But Moira Campbell from Corruption Watch, thank you so much for that. Dr. Graham Wright, thank you very much from the business. And as you really you'll see that this forum is really taking forward the notion of the whole of society and really the whole of government approach. Let me also acknowledge the General, albeit retired, but you're still very active from the BMA. Thank you very much. Please pass our thanks to the Commissioner who couldn't be here. In the time I have, I really want to emphasize that this forum really followed on and is really the rollout and the implementation of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy, which has really been indicated earlier on. The effects of corruption, I think, has been spelled out by all. We all are aware that really if we don't effectively fight the scourge of corruption, the services that the public so look forward to will likely collapse, and so will the country. In fact, on Sunday we were invited to a platform, and my colleague, Mr. Khanyaho, took part in that, the SAFM, and there was also the chairperson of SCOPA. And it was interesting that the topic also looked at the cost of corruption, but not only from a finance perspective, but also from the service delivery. So we all are aware, we all know that if we don't really fight corruption effectively, you know what happens at the receiving end of the public. The services that they so yearn for get compromised or even affected. So the National Anti-Corruption Strategy spells out all that we really need to do as a country, as government, and as the whole of society. There's a specific pillar. It's got 6 pillars, but I'll focus only on the 6th pillar. That really says we need to protect vulnerable sectors that are most prone to corruption and unethical practices with effective risk management. We need to protect them with effective risk management, and this, amongst others, includes effective corruption risk management. So, in doing that, we then led a whole of government and a whole of society approach, including various members of the forums, to conduct a risk assessment of the vulnerable sectors as envisaged by the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. We did that risk assessment, and it came up with various sectors in government. In fact, as we speak, and I'm sure my colleague, General Levia, can attest, and probably all of you are aware, that in all the sectors of government, there's not one sector where we are not investigating. There is not one sector where we're not investigating. So it is very, very critical that we understand the vulnerability of the sectors. In fact, applies to all the sectors. But for purposes of creating a model on which we should include the whole of society and the whole of government, we identified the following sectors: health sector, local government, all those that have been indicated earlier on, to model how is it that we include the whole of society and the whole of government. As it was said before, we started with the health sector anti-corruption forum, and we have seen the benefits. In fact, I should have acknowledged Dr. Cassius Libisi, who really at the time played a role as well in the establishment of the health sector anti-corruption forum. Doctor, I'm sure you can really see the benefits of how a pathfinder that forum was. And then local government, and then infrastructure, and then, of course, we are here today with the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum. To date, we have really seen the benefits. And as our colleague from is it SSA or is it Moira who said, we saw during the COVID, how collaborative we worked. And in fact, during that time, the forum played a very key role in the risk assessments with the provision of vaccines. And there was less corruption in the rollout of vaccines, if you recall. It was really more around the PPEs and the others, where the investigations were. But colleagues, in the interest of time, this kind of forums really gives us the platform to include law enforcement agencies, civil society, organized labor, regulators. But regulators also are very important, business, and traditional leaders and religious sector, and the youth have to be drawn in, and of course women in the fight against corruption. So there's a number of all other stakeholders that we still can include. As my colleague has indicated, we are chairing the G20 Anti-Corruption Working Group. The co-chair is Brazil. And as part of the priorities, we've got priority 3 there. Well, quickly, priority 1, it's strengthening the public sector integrity and transparency and so on. This plays a role. The various speakers here said integrity really is very key as we do our work as government and across other sectors, including private sector. Now, the second priority relates to the asset forfeiture, or asset recovery. Then the third one really is the one that we're here about, inclusion of other stakeholders in the fight against corruption. Most of the G20 countries and other invited countries really looked at this priority and really supported it. That except to say that it's there in the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, if you read Article 13, it will really take you through how is it that it's important to include the whole of society and other stakeholders. But, and then the fourth and the last was the whistleblower protection. So these are our priorities as a country in the G20. We would like to really drive them such that we're able to demonstrate what is it that we're doing. In the priority 3, we're able to demonstrate, as we are sitting here today, we'll probably share with them at the next meeting, that we met in this fashion where we launched the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Authority. But as the minister was saying earlier on before the meeting, that we're actually just formalizing a forum that has already met, and I'll give you the dates, some of the dates that we have met. Mr. Wright indicated at the last meeting, which was held last week, and it really continues to add value in that sense. This forum has got a governance model, and I'm really not going into detail with that. We've got various committees that are really chaired, and then we've got a steering committee, including all the members of the forum, that really serves to receive allegations, but also a very critical part is that we need this forum to play a key role in the prevention framework. And we have now reached a stage where we have drafted a draft corruption risk management and prevention framework. I was indicating earlier on to the minister that framework, it has served now at the committee chaired by General Libya. It will be at JCPS on the 8th of April, and it will probably go to the JCPS of ministers, and we envisage that it will go to cabinet in the same way as the National Anti-Corruption Strategy took, cabinet sign-off, and will then open it up for public consultation. We really look forward to us as government and all of us as private sector lifting the bar, really a step change in the prevention, implementing prevention measures in all our aspects, including in this sector. So in this forum, the law enforcement agencies, of course, present, on the investigations and the outcomes, and of course, the civil society and business and everyone are able to hold us to account and say this matter was reported on X date. You're still busy with it. Where are the outcomes? Where's prosecution? And all of that. And of course, at the end, we say, okay, how is it that we can prevent all of this, right? What role do we all play in coming up with prevention measures. So that's the transparency that which this platform gives us. But we are really happy that at the end, they give us all the opportunity to really play our role in the fight against corruption, maladministration, and malpractice, I would add. I indicated that I'll give you the dates, but quickly, the first meeting of this forum was on the 8th of April 2024, the second one on the 3rd September 2024, 3rd 26th November 2024, fourth was the 20th March 2025. We'll continue on that trajectory so that the momentum that we have created, because we don't want to be guilty to say it was good to meet and talk about it and now where are the results, right? We have pledged, like we're going to pledge later on, that we are going to stick on this trajectory. This forum will continue like the others, showing the results. Now, as I really draw to a close, because the time is of the essence, some of the investigations that we are busy with, General Libya indicated some of the investigations and the arrests and the percentages that he has given out vis-a-vis the foreign nationals and the South Africans. Some of the investigations and the Director General Makode indicated from the work that was done by Home Affairs and the team led by Dr. Cassius Libisi, the President proclaimed Proclamation 154 of 2024. Now, that proclamation, the investigation is really, has gained momentum, it's really quite at length. Minister, we will probably be coming back to you and saying, at an appropriate time, we'll indicate to the public with the outcomes of that investigation. But just in brief, that investigation focuses on the issuance of permanent residence permits, corporate visas, business visas, critical and exceptional skills work visas, study visas, retired persons visas as well, work visas, citizenship by naturalization, and some of those those are based on the allegations that we've received, that there's various acts of corruption and maladministration, malpractice in those areas. And it really cuts across some of the practitioners, whether lawyers or accountants, pastors, and all of those. We will really look into all the sectors of those who participated in the irregularities. Just high level, and without really going into detail. And I know that the minister will have some of the numbers. We have made several referrals for disciplinary hearing or disciplinary action, Minister, and we are really glad that the department led by the DG has really indicated that progress or process will be initiated in that. But we have also referred a number of cases to the prosecuting authority, numbering about 114, and all of those referrals cover various infractions and criminal infractions in various of these aspects. Number of matters referred to the department for revocation of study visas issued, which were obtained on the strength of fraudulent supporting documents. We have referred about 110 referrals for study visas to be revoked. And we know that we have to follow a legal process to really have those ultimately revoked. But this really shows really the importance of going and diving deep into investigations and finding areas where the process were beset by fraud and corruption. So there's various other referrals that we will be doing as the investigation is still ongoing. Colleagues, there's also another proclamation that the President signed and this relates to the Department of Transport. But also there is a overlap between what the Department of Transport does there and the Department of Home Affairs. The Department of Transport, amongst others, issues what is called traffic register number. And a whole lot of work was done by the department, and the counter-corruption in the department really did a lot of work on this. We need to acknowledge that. And the Department of Transport. Of course, the SIU team also now really diving deep into this so-called traffic register number. The amount of abuse that we found in this traffic register number, because this traffic register number enables you to transact with the banks, enables you to drive and all of that. I can't really mention all of those that enables one to do with this traffic register number. But we have found that it's also beset with fraud and corruption. In fact, at last count, the team informs me that going through the data, that there's about 2.6 million traffic register numbers that have been issued irregularly. And this is, you can imagine that all of those traffic register numbers are being used in the country across various sectors, across financial sector, all other sectors, using this. And at the end of the investigation, we would like to be clear. Evidence pointing to irregularities requires us to take action. And as part of our responsibility as the special investigating units and, of course, other law enforcement agents, is that when there's irregularities found, one of the processes that we follow, like I indicated, we need to follow the civil path, which includes either revocation or cancellation of this fraudulently issued documents, including the traffic register number. But I thought I would really indicate this. Now, as I close, this is the second time I said it. Now the focus, Honorable Minister, really, as I said, we are driving towards the prevention now, the implementation of prevention. And as part of the prevention framework, we're really going to be looking at the use of data analytics. And Dr. Wright, I'm really glad that the business is there really to support this process. Sabric has really worked with the Hawks in terms of ensuring that, from a cyber perspective. So that framework is going to look at the use of data so that we can determine the exposures. And once we've determined the exposures, then government and all other sectors can now come up with prevention measures. This is really the proactivity that we need. We are going to continue with the risk assessments as part of the framework. At a border management, at the last meeting, we really indicated the kind of risk assessments that we're going to deal with the Border Management Authority and the Home Affairs at the border entry, they call them ports of entry, so that the risk assessments and the awareness, is really raised. And then the control measures. It's very important, process redefinition as part of implementing. The program director minister was really indicating the use of technology. And I know that the minister has really pronounced that the processes that are defined and redefined, we need to look at the processes, how vulnerable they are, and how is it that we can mitigate the vulnerabilities by the use of technology, right? Where we want to minimize human intervention, because we have seen that where a process is not mitigated by technology, it's really vulnerable. Integrity checks, and we also assess the modus operandi. We want to really warn all of those officials that are guilty of these irregularities, all those that are outside that are colluding with the officials, that we have cottoned on the modus operandi. We know how you do these things, and we will then mitigate going forward, or as we investigate, we will know what to look for. And of course, the awareness and education. We want to include what are called the Supreme Audit Institutions, AGSA, the internal auditors, the risk managers, and the compliance managers. All of these, assurance providers have to really play a role as we now, lift up the bar, lift the game on the implementation of the prevention framework. On that note, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate Mutibi, for the enlightening words. We now, without wasting time, are going into the keynote address that will be done by the Minister of Home Affairs, MP, Dr. Leon Schreiber. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Good morning to the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Njabula Nzuza, the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makode, the Acting Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, Major General Retired David Chilembe, the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Advocate Shamila Batoy, the Head of the Special Investigating Unit, Advocate Andy Mutibi, the Head of the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, Lieutenant General Godfrey Labia, the former Director General in the Presidency, Dr. Cassius Lubisi, the General Manager for Border Intelligence at the State Security Agency, Louise Dreyer, the CEO of Business Against Crime, Dr. Graham Wright, as well as the Joint Interim Leader of Corruption Watch, Moira Campbell, as well as other industry stakeholders and esteemed guests and members of the media. We have assembled here today to launch the Border Management and Immigration Anti-Corruption Forum. But what makes this launch, I think, unique and exciting is that we will not be here to talk about what we intend to do. This is not a talk shop. We are actually here to talk about the important successes that we are already achieving and how we will build on those successes to deliver the most comprehensive corruption cleanup our country has seen. That is what we require in this space. To do so, we of course need to start by acknowledging the scale of the challenges that we face, and I think that has been outlined already here today. Corruption is indeed a scourge that has spread its tentacles into every facet of our society. In fact, if there is one phrase that defined public life in South Africa during the previous decade, it was the term state capture. This pernicious and corrosive form of corruption made its way to the very top of our public institutions. Yet the reality of what our country faces today, as the Government of National Unity seeks to rebuild in the wake of state capture, has perhaps been somewhat neglected. Maybe we don't have a term for what we are facing today. And yet the shape of the corruption that we are dealing with in the wake of state capture is no less pernicious or corrosive. In many ways, state capture broke the proverbial dam that enabled corruption to then flood into almost every nook and cranny of our society. Once the top echelons of the establishment were seen to endorse corruption at the very highest institutions of state, a message cascaded throughout society that extortion, fraud, and theft has just become how we do things now in South Africa. The construction mafia and the construction industry that has been mentioned is one well-known example of how this pattern has spread to different sectors of society. But it is by no means the only such mafia or syndicate that has infiltrated and even merged with the system that it seeks to subvert. South African society today is characterized by the syndicatization of any process where value can be extracted. Of course, the border management and immigration sector has not been spared. As the work of Dr. Lubisi and his colleagues painstakingly revealed, sophisticated syndicates organize themselves within Home Affairs to extort and defraud both South Africans and immigrants. The same pattern can be observed in other critical state functions in all areas where value can be extracted through syndicated behavior. It's not an individual, it's not one cog in the machine, it is an alliance formed across people in the public sector, in the private sector, and across society that actually coordinate in a very sophisticated manner. And that, I believe, is the golden thread that you will find in the forums dealing with water, dealing with local government, and indeed dealing with the one we are launching here today. In a syndicate society, access to services is regulated not by the institutions of the democratic state, but by those embedded syndicates that have captured not only the heights of state power, but also every level down, all the way to the tender, for example, that awards mops at an Eskom power station, or determines who gets an EPWP job in a municipal ward. This is the syndicate society. In such a society, the domain that is de jure assigned by the Constitution to the state becomes the de facto domain of the syndicate. In other words, it is the syndicate that begins to render a service at a fee and as part of its extraction model. Where nepotism replaces merit in appointment decisions, where public goods are exploited for private gain, and ultimately, where the barrel of the gun replaces the rule of law. Once we understand that it is the aim of syndicates to not only exploit the system that they operate in, but to merge with the system, to capture it, we also begin to understand that the many facets or the many failures of service delivery caused by corruption are not accidental. Where syndicates take control, they deliberately break the system. From the perspective of these criminals, an immigration system, for example, that creates vulnerabilities or loopholes to extort bribes is not broken. For them, it is working exactly as they intend. In many cases, the rot runs so deep that it is perhaps even misguided to regard corruption as something that is separate from the system of governance. Where we allow this process to take root, corrupt syndicates can become so deeply enmeshed with the operations of government that they become the system. It is for this reason that I believe our efforts to defeat corruption will never succeed if we only seek to treat the symptoms. What we require is an approach that tackles the problem at its root, both by enforcing accountability for corruption and simultaneously reforming the system itself to close the loopholes, the weaknesses, the vulnerabilities that criminals and syndicates exploit. I am encouraged to indicate today that the leaders that are gathered in this room from various institutions are indeed making progress on both of these fronts. Collectively, the Special Investigating Unit, the Department of Home Affairs, the Border Management Authority, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, and the National Prosecuting Authority are already actively working together to enforce accountability in the border management and immigration environment. In recent months, we have seen some of the most decisive action taken to date against corruption in our country, including through the important work done by the technical experts on the multidisciplinary task team that is tasked with implementing the recommendations contained in Dr. Lubisi's report. As a result, between July 2024 and February 2025, 27 officials have been dismissed from the Department of Home Affairs for a range of offences, including fraud and corruption. We announced 18 of these dismissals in November last year, and since then another 9 officials have been dismissed. Once appeals that are currently ongoing are completed, this number is likely to increase further still. The Department of Home Affairs is also concluding the appointment of a permanently appointed Deputy Director General for Human Resources, and it is my expectation that this person will further intensify our quest to rid the department of these syndicates and the people who serve their interests. Thanks to the work of our partners in law enforcement, 8 of these officials have already been convicted and sentenced to prison terms ranging from 4 to 18 years, while criminal prosecution of another 19 officials is underway. In one notable case, a Pakistani national who charged foreigners 45,000 rand for a South African passport was sentenced to 18 years imprisonment in the Krugersdorp Magistrate Court in Gauteng. And there you can see what I mean when I say that if we allow these syndicates to take control, they start replacing the democratic state. Because how can you go and buy a passport or a document from an individual who is not even a South African? It is because the syndicate actually pushes out the mandate of the state, and we are reclaiming that mandate with every single step forward in the fight against corruption. At the BMA, over the same period, 10 officials have been dismissed, and one for corruption and another one for aiding and abetting. As was mentioned earlier, another 45 cases, Acting Commissioner, are at various stages in the disciplinary process and could result, of course, in further dismissals. Just as important, however, as the dismissals and the prosecutions themselves is the pace at which they are taking place. This, I think, is one of the great sources of frustration and a loss of trust by the public, is when they see these things dragging on endlessly, and even in some cases officials getting paid, while we know that they are the ones operating within these corrupt syndicates. But again, this is where the progress of this forum is being felt. I want to really congratulate the multidisciplinary task team and this membership of this forum for achieving a major, major breakthrough. And this breakthrough was achieved in the Labour Court. And I want to share with you, because I want you to carry this message beyond the domain of Home Affairs and the Border Management Authority. It was in one of our cases that a new precedent was set in the Labour Court that allows the appointment of external chairpersons for disciplinary hearings, changing the interpretation of collective agreements that had been in place since 2001 and enabling more impartial disciplinary processes across the whole of government. This is a major victory, and it creates a model that the government must now follow in all that we do, precisely because it offers a powerful new avenue to prevent members of corrupt syndicates from protecting each other. Again, I say to you, when the system fails, when a disciplinary matter drags on for months or years, it is not by accident, it is by design. It suits someone's agenda. And when you have someone who is conflicted, who is potentially even a member of this same syndicate, running these disciplinary processes, how can we be surprised at the way in which it is managed? I want to very warmly congratulate the team for creating this new precedent, because it is going to speed up and intensify the impartiality of disciplinary processes. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, this is an example of how we are already charting a new course in the fight against corruption in this sector, but also more broadly. I think you'll agree with me that as these things take root, the message to corrupt officials or members of syndicates is clear and unambiguous. We are cleaning house, and when we catch you, you will be out of the door within a matter of weeks. That is the message that this work is conveying, and I think the more we do of this, the more the ripple effect will be felt across those syndicates. Importantly, however, I want to emphasize that our message and the work of this forum also makes it clear that we apply the rule of law without fear or favor. Shortly after assuming office, I initiated a process in terms of the promotion of Access to Administrative Justice Act that resulted in the revocation of the South African citizenship that was irregularly granted to a senior member of the Gupta family. Further processes are now underway to ensure that justice is seen to be done for the way in which Home Affairs was abused to further the interests of state capture accused. The sum total of this work represents, I believe, the beginning of the biggest and most decisive crackdown on corruption to date in our immigration sector. And it will be applied to you whether you are an official receiving a bribe, or whether you're a member of the state capture accused syndicate that plunged our country into the corruption challenges that we face today. By working together every day, we are painstakingly washing away the stain of corruption and state capture off of Home Affairs, so that we can transform this department, as well as the BMA, into the proud institutions that they deserve to be, sitting at the heart of our democratic society. It should be a source of pride when you see the BMA logo. It should be a source of pride when you see the Home Affairs logo, and we can get there if we wash the stains of corruption and state capture off of these institutions. I want to also, however, make it clear that this is not all we are doing and we should be doing. As I mentioned, there are two critical ingredients here. It is about accountability and consequence management, and that justice is seen to be done. But it is also about systemic reform. And some of the speakers have highlighted the vulnerabilities in the system itself that creates the opportunities for these syndicates, and which in many cases they create, because they break the system on purpose. That is why at the same time as we are enforcing consequence management, we are also committed to the kind of systems reform that will close the space for discretion that enables that fraud and corruption in the first place. In this quest, we have a powerful ally, and I'm very grateful that I'm the Minister of Home Affairs in 2025 and not in some earlier year, because we have a wonderful ally called technology, and we are going to use that ally to the maximum effect. One of the fundamental pillars, in fact, of our commitment to digital transformation is to employ technology in ways that prevent and detect corruption, to uproot those syndicates and networks altogether. The work done by Dr. Lubisi and his team has already shown us the power of data analytics. We are already using technology to detect and prosecute and hold accountable these specific individuals. But the reality is that for as long as we have paper-based visa documents, for as long as we use manual and paper-based processes, and for as long as decisions are open to human discretion and interference, the space for corruption will continue to exist. That is why our digital transformation vision is designed to squeeze that space, to systematically close those gaps. Paper visas, for example, are being replaced by an electronic travel authorization that features artificial intelligence and machine learning to enhance adjudication. There was a reference earlier to fraudulent documents being submitted as part of applications. Let me tell you, the ability of technology to detect a fraudulent document or a fraudulent passport that someone may be submitting as part of an application is vastly superior to anything that even the best trained expert can do. That is how we are going to prevent this kind of fraud in the visa space from perpetuating. It is by embracing technology through the electronic travel authorization system. Paper documents are being replaced by secure digital documents, including the digital ID system announced by the President during the State of the Nation address. We've already seen with the Trusted Tour Operator scheme that we can securely email the outcomes of documents that are secured through QR codes that function as a visa, but that you cannot manipulate the way that you can manipulate a handwritten or paper document. That is the way of the future. The Green ID book, the bane of my existence, will be phased out and replaced by the far more secure smart ID and digital ID. We will do this by expanding access to everyone who qualifies for a South African ID to be able to obtain the smart ID. We have to get into many more bank branches. We have to get onto the digital devices so that South Africans anywhere are able to obtain the smart ID. And then we can move away from that green ID book. We are also, ladies and gentlemen, automating entry and exit at all of South Africa's ports of entry. This is a major reform. The medium-term development plan explicitly aims to achieve this first at the 9 international airports and then at all land and seaports by the end of this administration. These reforms will deliver a systems revolution in border management and the immigration environment. No more papers that can go missing or be manipulated. No more photo swapping on a green ID book. No more bribing an immigration officer to manipulate an outcome or to gain entry to our country illegally, because you simply cannot bribe a computer. When the computer says no, it doesn't ask for something to change the answer. That is the way of the future. That is how we are going to close these loopholes. Ladies and gentlemen, if the previous decade of our national life was defined by state capture, and if our present is to a large extent defined by the risk of becoming a syndicate society in the wake of state capture, then what do we want our future to be defined by? The answer must surely be that we want South Africa's next decade to be defined by a systems revolution. This would entail a concerted process of enforcing accountability for corruption, exactly as this forum is doing, while reforming the system in such a way that the hold of corrupt networks over government processes and services is broken, so that the democratic constitutional state can reclaim its space as the custodian of service delivery and of government in South Africa. This is exactly what we have embarked upon in the Home Affairs ecosystem. We recognize that the system, as it is currently designed, requires not only patchwork changes, but fundamental reform. Not only because of corruption, of course, but also because of resource constraints, inefficiency, and indeed the risks posed to national security by ineffective and outdated border and immigration management. As I said at the beginning, today is not a talk shop. It is not a promise of what will be done. It is a stock taking of what is already being achieved, and it is looking forward to how we can build on that to do even more. In a country that is deeply fatigued by state capture and corruption, it is a source of inspiration that this forum is walking the talk. As we speak, corrupt officials are being disciplined and fired. Prosecutions are following, and systemic change is underway to rid our institutions of the corrupt syndicates that seek to take us all hostage. I know that all of us in this room love our country, and therefore we hate what corruption has done to it. That is why we are pursuing an unprecedented cleanup to enforce accountability, as well as a systems revolution that will demonstrate the power of the collaboration in this room, married to our greatest ally in the form of digital transformation to uproot corruption. It is a vision, ladies and gentlemen, that we must fulfill, because succeeding in a sector that is as fraught as immigration will serve as a beacon of hope to our whole society that corruption can be dealt with, that accountability can be enforced, and that systemic reform through digital transformation that fundamentally reshapes and modernizes the systems of government can roll back capture by syndicates and defeat corruption once and for all. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister. And for me, the highlight is when the computer says no, it doesn't ask for anything to change its decision. If I was in the media industry, that would be my headline. And the issues that you are raising here, Minister, is very important in a sense that sometimes people define corruption differently. Corruption is corruption, but for other people, it is corruption when it does not favor them. The minute it favors them, they call it connections. And they say, we are connected. But at the end of it all, still corruption at the end. Now we have come to a stage where we have got to commit ourselves as the public to a pledge. And I'm going to request somebody to bring the pledge closer. The pledge is behind here, behind. If somebody can assist. Oh, they will use this one. Okay. Therefore, we are going to ask the dignitaries in these three tables to sign on that pledge, led by the minister. But before you do that, I need to read it so that you know what is it that you're going to sign. This is a general pledge. It's not only the dignitaries that are going to sign, all of the other people sitting, just that for the sake of the program, we will then ask the dignitaries to sign and we close. But all the others must sign on this thing to commit yourselves, because it is the whole of society that is important. And the pledge reads as follows. It doesn't say we, it says I, so that you sign as an individual. I pledge to be a responsible and honest citizen, neither pay nor take bribes, obey the law and encourage others around me to do the same, to treat public resources respectfully, never abuse any money entrusted to my care or position, act with integrity in all my dealings, in thought and action, not only action, thoughts also, and always act in the best interest of our country. That is what we are going to be pledging. Therefore, I'm going to take this opportunity to allow, for the purposes of the program, the minister to lead and all the dignitaries in these three tables to go and sign, and then from there, we'll get to vote of thanks, close, but all the other people can sign. I've got the pens here, Minister. I don't want an excuse to say you didn't have.
But the pledge is still paper-based for now.
It's paper-based because we want to make it public.
So I just need to sign.
Yeah, just your signature, $1 million signature to say you agree to those things.
I need to do the date as well. That's fine.
There you go. Business, let's see. $1 million signature.
Please ask them to come this side because they're blocking the cameras. But we can't see who's signing.
Can you come from this side? If you can just allow the cameras to see who is signing so that we don't block the road there. Thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues. The signatures have been done. This is just a symbolic. All of you, you are welcome to come here. When we finish, sign even that side. We are going to keep this. We will make sure that they are not left like this. They will be scanned into the system. And we'll make sure that we will show it to you the same way as we always say to people after they've worked for many years when we want them to do work. Then they'll say, no, we can't do this. We say, but during the interview, we can play it back to you. You said you will go beyond doing the work. Therefore, we'll always do that and show it to you. Thank you very much. We are almost at the end of our program. I'm going to ask the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, MP, Mr. Njabulo Nzuza, to come and do the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Program Director Ntate Khanyago. And greetings to the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Schreiber, the Chairperson of the BMIFCF, and the head of the SIU, Advocate Motibi, the Border Management Authority Acting Commissioner, Major General retired David Shilembe, the Chief Executive Officer of Business Against Crime, Dr. Wright, former DG in the presidency, who also did a lot of work for us at Home Affairs to be where we are today. And I think it's very important that we recognize the work that you have done in rooting out corruption within Home Affairs. Dr. Cassius Lubisi, we really appreciate you. The National Director of Public Prosecution, Advocate Shamila Patoy, who had joined us earlier on. I think this is one of the evidence that the work that we do is a cycle. You start by having systems that capture wrongdoing, investigate. Ultimately, you must prosecute with an intention of exacting consequences. And we are very happy that the National Director of Public Prosecution was with us here today. The Director General of Home Affairs, Mr. Tommy Makode, and the Director General, who's a representative from State Security. We really appreciate your presence here today, as well as the Director for Priority Crime Investigation, the Hawks, Lieutenant General Libya, and the Interim Leader of Corruption Watch, Madam Campbell, and other civil society organizations that are representatives, including Outer and Accountability Lab SA. We really appreciate you joining us here today. Today really is about us coming together to combat the scourge of corruption. The forum that we are launching today is a collaborative and is a milestone in South Africa of our relentless fight against corruption and other crimes, and thus we acknowledge with thanks the presence of key stakeholders in the border management and immigration sector and other role players and all guests who have made this occasion possible. Thank you very much for being with us today. But more importantly, I want to thank you, Eli, for the work that you are still going to do with us, because it does not just end here and today, and we must say thank you for today, but for your commitment, for the work that you are still going to do. The efforts that we are here about are not only critical for security of our country, but for both development and economic growth. As our country, we have seen the impacts of lack of economic growth. Means that citizens might have to pay higher taxes and everything. And therefore, economic growth is one of the biggest priorities of the 7th administration. And what dwarfs growth is crime and corruption and the flow of illicit goods into the system, which destroys our businesses. Therefore, this forum is not just only important for security reasons, but for economic growth and prosperity of our beautiful nation. An important lesson emerges out of the noticeable advances that we have made. And as the Minister was saying, that we are not only here today to start the process, but we are here because there is notable actions that have been taken. For example, the multidisciplinary task team has made significant progress, as has been mentioned. On behalf of the Department of Home Affairs and the SIU and all other role players, allow me to extend our words of gratitude to all key participants and guests. Once more, I would like to thank the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, for embracing this initiative and for your consistent initiatives and driving and showing leadership in the process of moving towards a digital environment that will enable corruption to stop. As you have said, the computer will never ask for anything. Let me thank again Advocate Metibi, who is the chairperson of the forum and the head of the SAU. Your efforts in ensuring that this anti-crime forum sits and sees the legitimate light it is seeing today cannot and will not go unnoticed. Major General Shilembe of the Border Management Authority has also been instrumental in this process. This is one of our new organizations that we've established. Yes, they always cry, we want more resources for the BMA, but also there is measurable work that has been done in making sure that we derail the movement of illegal goods into the country. While expressing our heartfelt gratitude to all of you for your patriotic efforts, we look forward to continue working with you in the areas including civil society, which we are very happy for them being here, religious representatives, labor organizations, NGO, including Outer and Corruption Watch, Business Against Crime, the Institute of Security Studies, which really helps us in as far as research and pointing us to the right direction on how we deal with issues. The Financial Intelligence Sector, the FIC Financial Intelligence Center, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigations, various government departments, the NPA, and the South African Revenue Services. Ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate you and we really appreciate the efforts that you continue to put together. We can never thank you enough. When we're fighting crime together and corruption, we lay a foundation for a more equitable, inclusive, and prosperous society. Working together, we can create a nation that works for all by ridding South Africa of fraud and corruption. The journey does not end today or does it start. It has been continuing, but there is still more that we need to do. We will continue to hold our hands together and fight the scourge that is killing our country. I thank you.
Thank you very much, DM. We have come to the end of the program, and all I can say is thank you for allowing me to steer this ship, and I hope I've done a great job. If I've done a great job, yes, I wanted to say, if I've done a great job, go and tell others. And if I've trembled on your foot, you must bring the other foot. I must do the same to it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end. The VIPs, they say you must go back to where you were for some finger lunch, and then the rest of us, we will be here outside. There's also provision there. Thank you very much, and thank you to the media.